Hi, I'm Liz Larson, Commercial Cake Decorating Instructor. I'm here to give you some professional tips as well as the brass tacks basics. Today we're really going to get basic and we're going to talk about the straight shell. We're going to talk about the pressure control and the way to hold the bag and timing, which is really important. So enjoy. These are some of the more elaborate borders that you can do once you've mastered the straight shell. If you don't master the straight shell, it's really hard to make any of these beautiful. So you want to hold your bag between your first finger and thumb, right in the palm of your hand, so that you can squeeze this way. You get the most control over the pressure by the thumb of your hand, and you always want to hold your bag at a 45-degree angle, guiding with these two fingers. You get the best range of motion, and these two fingers can guide back and forth. You never want to hold like this, see what just happened, and you also back it up, and you have very little range of motion. This is your best range. So let's start with our straight shell. Your pressure control is going to be your most important ally in decorating and making all those beautiful borders we showed you earlier. So let's begin. You're going to hold your bag at this angle to the table. You're going to squeeze, pressure, 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 let it build, and relax. Now this time, watch my hand. Squeeze, 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 and relax. If you notice, there's no up and down movement in my bag. What I'm not doing is this. See the difference? Let's try it again. Squeeze, let the head build, and release. Squeeze, let the head build, and release. I'm going to change the angle just slightly so you can get a slightly better idea of how the pressure builds. I'm going to squeeze, let it build, and release. Squeeze, let it build, and release. You're getting a perfect star from that, but it's exact same pressure as I'm doing here to let the head build and release. And once again, watch the pressure I'm using in my squeezing hand. Okay, we're going to use that same pressure control and that range of motion that I talked about earlier and just move the tip around. So I'm going to squeeze and release. Squeeze and release. It's hard to believe, but this simple pressure control and the motion here is the basis for figure piping. If you can get this down, get this pressure down right, you're wide open for everything that you can do later on. As you can see, I've changed bags. I've just got a bag striped here with some color and a rose tip. I'm going to show you the pressure that's needed to use this is the exact same pressure and motion needed for your 5-petal flower base. This one petal is the basis for all kinds of other flowers, dogwoods, orchids, hibiscus, and on and on. Let me demonstrate one more time. It's a squeeze, let it build. This time I'm just rotating and release. But I want you to see that it's the exact same pressure control used for here as here. If you can master this, you can do this. This is the flower created with this one petal, which is also done with the pressure control of this shell. So now I want to talk about spacing of the shells, but don't move on till you've got that motion down just right. Make sure you build and release. Now the release is really important just as the building so that we can get the right spacing. So we're going to build and release. See the tail? Tail is really important. It gives you the space you need for the next shell. So your next shell is going to begin right at the end of that tail. And then you get perfect spacing. If you don't, your shells can look like this. And that's just not a pretty border. But a straight shell can be used with an extremely long tail You want to make sure the tails are evenly spaced. With this extremely long tail, you can make a big border without a lot of icing. You can also create 3 shells together and 1 long tail. The varieties are endless. So now we're going to talk about spacing as well as timing. Timing is really important. Here's where it gets a little weird. We're going to combine music class and cake decorating class. So remember in music class when the teacher said you had a whole note and a half note, a 1 and 2 and 3 and? That's exactly the kind of rhythm we need for the right space borders. Let me demonstrate. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. So the and gives you that space you need with the tail, keeps you from bunching them up or spreading them out too far. So try that at home. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I switched up just a little bit and changed tips. I just want to show you that the shell border can be done in variations with other kinds of tips that are just as pretty. So if you've mastered this one, you can make a myriad of borders with just that one move. So I'm going to use a leaf tip. I'm building and releasing just like I'm doing with the star tip. Build and release, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, this time we're going to do the same thing, same motion, same pressure control, but with a rose tip and just a little bit of color. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and. Let me stop, turn my bag over, go the other direction so you can see a little color. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and. Same pressure control, same movement as the shell border, but with a rose. Let's take it one step further. We're going to combine the same straight shell movement, but with a rose tip and some color, with a straight shell. 1 and 2 and 3 and. This time, my pressure is light, and I'm making a very small border. Combining it with the rose tip border, you have a beautiful double border. Took you just a couple of seconds, but it looks like you've been doing it your whole life. So I'm going to show you one more thing. This is just a little hint for later. We'll do some more of this later. But it's the straight shell with a little bit of a ruffle. Now ruffle is kind of an advanced move only because it takes a little extra control with your pressure and also with your range of motion. But I'll give you a hint here. We'll show you. We'll start our pressure, and as our head starts to build, we just ruffle side to side and release. But you can see that you're going to have really good control to build that middle part to get that ruffle to be beautiful. So at the end of practicing your straight shells, give this one a shot. Let your pressure build at the top, give it a ruffle, and release. So I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about the straight shell. Really practice that pressure control and timing. It'll pay off in the long run. So thanks again. Stay tuned for some future episodes. Bye.